Hi Hoops fans, we have 14 games today and we start right away. The first prediction for today is for the game between Dallas Mavericks and Charlotte Hornets. As the Dallas Mavericks gear up for a showdown against the Charlotte Hornets at the Spectrum Center, this clash grabs the spotlight for hoops enthusiasts for myriad reasons. The Mavericks, boasting a solid 48-30 record, are primed to take on the Hornets, who've had a tough season with a 19-59 tally. Dallas shines on offense, dropping an average of 118.6 points per game, hitting 48.3% from the field and 37.3% from downtown, a stark contrast to Charlotte's 106.4 points at a 46% shooting rate. Diving into the stats and recent plays, the disparity is glaring. Dallas, fueled by the electric duo of Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, has been lighting up the scoreboard, highlighted by a recent thrashing of the Rockets. Doncic, with an impressive average of 33.9 points per game, and Irving, who dropped 48 points last game, pose a significant threat to any defense. On the other hand, the Hornets, despite shooting 54.2% from the field in a recent tight game against the Thunder, have been plagued by inconsistency. Grant Williams and Miles Bridges have had their moments, yet the team's defense, allowing 116.6 points per game on 49.3% shooting, has been a weak link. Looking at the matchups, history, and current form, the scales are heavily tipped in Dallas's favor, especially given their knack for beating the spread in recent away games against teams with losing streaks. The Hornets, despite playing at home, have faltered against top-tier Western Conference teams, evidenced by 13 consecutive home losses in such scenarios. Dallas's strategic play, leveraging their shooting accuracy and rebounding prowess, earmarks them as the frontrunners. However, Charlotte's slight home court edge and recent ability to beat the spread indicate they might put up a fight, particularly if Dallas underestimates this matchup before facing tougher opponents. Considering the Mavericks' form, offensive firepower, and the Hornets' challenges against formidable teams, the Mavericks are poised for a win. Yet, Charlotte's home resilience and Dallas's occasional defensive slips suggest the Hornets could cover the 11.5-point spread, promising a tighter battle than the records imply. With both teams' offensive and defensive records, an over on the 221.5 total points seems likely, making this game not only a test of Dallas's dominance, but also of Charlotte's determination to upset the odds. In summary, I'm predicting a win for the Dallas Mavericks, but expect the Charlotte Hornets to cover the 11.5-point spread, with total points exceeding 221.5. The next prediction for today is for the game between Detroit Pistons and Philadelphia 76ers. As the Detroit Pistons prepare to take on the Philadelphia 76ers at Wells Fargo Center, the heat is on for both squads, each vying to lock down their standing as the season reaches its climax. With a record of 13-65, the Pistons are looking to shake up the status quo, despite wrestling with a tough season that sees them ranked 26th in scoring at an average of 110.3 points per game and a defense giving up 119.2 points. On the flip side, the Sixers, with a 44-35 tally, are riding high on a scoring rate of 114.5 points and a more stringent defense, allowing just 112 points per game. Recent matchups at Wells Fargo Center have consistently seen the Sixers come out on top, not only securing victories, but also beating the spread in their last 8 home clashes against the Pistons post-win. This stat highlights the Sixers' stronghold at home and their knack for exploiting the Pistons' weak spots when the game's on the line. Conversely, the Pistons have a notorious track record on the road, with 28 consecutive losses against Eastern Conference teams, boasting a winning record and failing to beat the spread in their last 10 trips to Wells Fargo Center under similar circumstances. This pattern underscores the Pistons' challenge in rising to the occasion in unfriendly confines, making their quest for a win in Philadelphia even more daunting. Injuries are a critical factor in this showdown, with Detroit possibly without key players like Cunningham, Fournier, and Duren, impacting their scoring and rebounding capabilities. Philadelphia, despite Harris's knee concerns, and possibly limiting Embiid's playtime following a double overtime game, still has the depth and prowess to adapt and keep the momentum going. Considering both teams' recent form and historical clashes, the Sixers clearly have the upper hand, especially in terms of shooting efficiency, rebounding, and leveraging their home advantage. The Pistons' road hardships and struggles against victorious teams further skew the odds in favor of Philadelphia. The Sixers' historical edge in covering the spread at home against the Pistons, combined with superior field goal and three-point shooting percentages, lays a solid groundwork for forecasting this matchup's outcome. Given the Pistons' difficulties, particularly in consecutive games and with defensive lapses, the Sixers' well-rounded offense and defensive solidity are likely to shine through. To wrap up, the Philadelphia Sixers are set to continue their victorious run and surpass the 15-point spread, leveraging their home court dominance, superior stats, and the Pistons' road tribulations. Predicting the total points is more complex due to the dynamics involved, but the Sixers' offensive strength and defensive tactics should enable them to control the game tempo to their benefit. Anticipate a fierce battle, but in the end, the Sixers' depth and strategic play should clinch them a decisive win and cover the spread. I'm placing my bets on the Philadelphia Sixers to triumph and exceed the 15-point spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between Indiana Pacers and Toronto Raptors. In the electrifying world of the NBA, the upcoming showdown between the Indiana Pacers and the Toronto Raptors at the Scotiabank Arena is gearing up to be an absolute must-see. The Pacers, boasting an impressive record of 45 wins and 34 losses, are hitting the court with high energy following a recent triumph over the Heat. Their scoring game is led by the dynamic duo of Pascal Siakam and Tyrese Haliburton, making waves with an average of 122.7 points per game at a solid 50.5% shooting efficiency. Their sharpshooting from beyond the arc, hitting at a 37.4% rate, sets the stage for a high-octane performance. However, the Pacers have shown some cracks in their armor defensively, giving up an average of 120.2 points per game, landing them near the league's lower echelons in defense. This blend of scoring prowess and defensive gaps could play a pivotal role against the Raptors, who, despite a less flattering 25-53 tally, have moments of brilliance. Spearheaded by R.J. Barrett and Scotty Barnes, the Raptors are scoring an average of 112.6 points with a 47.3% shooting accuracy. Their victory over the Wizards showcases their potential for upsets, buoyed by standout performances from players like Immanuel Quickley. When it comes to three-point shooting and grabbing boards, the matchup is neck and neck. The Pacers shine in draining threes and snagging offensive rebounds, while the Raptors' knack for defensive rebounds and creating turnovers might just balance the scales, especially considering Indiana's defensive rebounding struggles. The rivalry in Toronto has been nothing short of thrilling, with recent games frequently surpassing the total points threshold, hinting at another high-scoring affair at the Scotiabank Arena. Factoring in the challenge of back-to-back games, the Pacers' endurance and consistency will be under the microscope, especially facing a Raptors squad ready to pounce on any hint of weariness or defensive disarray. Considering the stats and the home court edge that often favors the hosts, this battle poses a unique test for the Pacers. Despite their scoring edge, Indiana's defensive loopholes and the Raptors' home fortitude against winning teams slightly skew the forecast. The game could ultimately hinge on the bench depth and clutch performance of each squad. The Raptors' drive to improve their record against top-tier opponents could spark a fierce contest, making them a good bet to beat the spread, even if clinching the win remains a stretch. In summary, while the Pacers are likely to secure a victory with their scoring talent and recent momentum, the Raptors are set to give them a run for their money, likely beating the spread set by bookmakers. Expect the total points to edge towards the upper limit, propelled by the offensive strengths and pass-scoring dynamics of both teams. My money's on the Toronto Raptors to beat the 9-point spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between Miami Heat and Atlanta Hawks. In the high-stakes arena of the NBA, every dribble and dash can shift the destiny of a team, and we're gearing up for a critical face-off. The Miami Heat are taking on the Atlanta Hawks in a crucial clash that goes beyond just another tick on the schedule. This game is a strategic fight for a better standing in the Eastern Conference. Miami, with a 43-35 record, is looking to break free from the play-in tournament's shadow, while the Hawks, holding a 36-42 tally, aim to cement their place within it. Miami's ride to this showdown has been a mix of thrilling victories and heart-wrenching losses. Their recent outings have shown both resilience and sharpness, even as they've navigated through a tight loss to the Pacers and impressive wins against the Rockets and Knicks. Their stats, with an average of 110 points on a 46.4% shooting efficiency against an opposition score of 108.5 points at a 46.9% rate, reflect a team that's found its rhythm in both offense and defense. The spotlight shines on Jimmy Butler, Tyler Herro, and Bam Adebayo, with Butler leading the pack. His average of 21.1 points per game signals that playoff Jimmy might just be warming up for a spectacular show. Terry Rozier's inclusion and Duncan Robinson's precision from beyond the arc have further fortified Miami's lineup, despite their slower game pace, which is in stark contrast to Atlanta's quicker tempo. The Hawks, grappling with defensive challenges, sit 27th in defensive efficiency. Even with DeJounte Murray stepping up in Trae Young's absence, their scoring punch averages at 118.7 points on a 46.6% shooting efficiency. Yet, their heavy reliance on threes and a lenient defense, allowing 120.3 points at a 49.3% rate, highlights their Achilles heel. Despite missing Young, the team has seen commendable efforts from Bogdan Bogdanović and Clint Capella, keeping them in the hunt with a faster gameplay style. In their recent head-to-head battles, the Heat have had the upper hand over the Hawks, claiming victory in 7 out of their last 10 matchups. The duel presents a classic clash of styles, with Miami's defensive edge and Atlanta's scoring spree. Miami's knack for controlling the game's flow and their defensive solidity often tips the scales in their favor in the league's competitive landscape. Injury reports could be a game-changer, with Miami possibly missing key players and Atlanta feeling the pinch without Trae Young and others. These absences, particularly Young's, skew the odds towards Miami, as the Hawks lose a significant chunk of their scoring thrust. Weighing the team's form, historical face-offs, and stats, Miami's balanced attack and defensive strength, against Atlanta's defensive woes and the notable absence of Trae Young, suggests a win for the Heat. The game's importance in the playoff race is immense, but Miami's seasoned tactics and game management should help them not just win, but also cover the 2.5-point betting line. With both teams' offensive firepower, it's likely the score will surpass the 222.5 points threshold, showcasing their scoring abilities despite defensive shortcomings. To sum it up, the Miami Heat are poised to strengthen their playoff position by defeating the Atlanta Hawks, with their strategic defense and veteran leadership paving the way in this pivotal Eastern Conference matchup. My money's on the Miami Heat to triumph and beat the spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between Boston Celtics and Milwaukee Bucks. Tonight's headline showdown at the Fiserv Forum sets the stage for an epic clash between Eastern Conference titans, as the Milwaukee Bucks welcome the Boston Celtics to their court. The Bucks aim to halt a 4-game losing streak and cement their place in the playoffs against the soaring Celtics, who arrive riding the momentum of a 5-game winning spree. This matchup promises to be a colossal encounter. The Celtics' recent surge has been nothing less than awe-inspiring, with the powerhouse duo of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown leading the charge. Despite grappling with a knee issue, Tatum is expected to play, and his participation could be game-changing. Brown's explosive performance against the Trailblazers, scoring 26 points with a shooting accuracy of 58.8%, highlights Boston's offensive might. This scoring prowess is further evidenced by their average of 120.8 points per game, the league's second highest, bolstered by their lethal 38.9% accuracy from three-point range. Boston's defense stands as a formidable barrier as well, conceding a mere 109.2 points per game, placing them 5th in the NBA. This defensive fortitude, paired with their offensive efficiency, renders them a challenging opponent. However, their past performances at the Fiserv Forum have been their weak spot, especially after coming off a win. Meanwhile, the Bucks, despite recent setbacks, remain a powerhouse. Giannis Antetokounmpo continues to be the linchpin for Milwaukee, dominating in scoring, rebounding, and assists. A potential showdown between Tatum and Antetokounmpo, should both be fit, is eagerly anticipated. Milwaukee's offense is robust, averaging 119.7 points per game with a 48.8% success rate from the field. Yet, their defensive record, allowing 116.8 points per game, paints a less stellar picture. The history between the Celtics and Bucks at the Fiserv Forum has always been marked by fiercely competitive games. The trend suggests the home team often prevails, and the Bucks' urgent need for a victory to secure their playoff spot could be the critical factor. Moreover, Boston's position as the top seed in the East could lead to a more conservative game plan, particularly with key players battling injuries. Analyzing the stats, recent form, and past encounters suggests the outcome may depend on Milwaukee's leverage of home court advantage and Boston's lineup strategies. The urgency from Milwaukee, combined with Boston's potential caution regarding player fitness, slightly favors the Bucks. The set over under the total of 228 points creates an intriguing bet, considering both teams' scoring capabilities. However, the Bucks' defensive shortcomings and the Celtics' field efficiency could drive the total points above the threshold, particularly in a match likely to feature prolific scoring. To sum up, considering the implications for Milwaukee and the possibility of Boston rotating strategically, expect the Bucks to narrowly claim victory, beating the spread in a high-scoring thriller that surpasses the 228-point mark. My money's on the Milwaukee Bucks to beat the 2-point spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between New York Knicks and Chicago Bulls. In the bustling heart of the Windy City, at the iconic United Center, a captivating NBA duel is about to go down between the New York Knicks and the Chicago Bulls. This showdown is more than just a game. It's a critical fight for a spot in the playoffs, with both squads eager to lock down a strategic advantage as the postseason edges closer. Riding the wave of a recent triumph over the Bucks, the Knicks are in full comeback mode, ready to battle for a crucial leg up in the playoff race. Guided by the standout Jalen Brunson, they're showing a grit and talent depth that's key for this face-off. Meanwhile, the Bulls are trying to find their footing amidst a season troubled by inconsistency and injuries. DeMar DeRozan is the silver lining in Chicago, consistently stepping up to keep the Bulls' play-in tournament hopes alive. Yet, with stars like Levine and Williams out, Chicago's road to victory looks steep. Stat-wise, the Knicks have the upper hand in several critical aspects. Their offense, spearheaded by Brunson's scoring and assists, pairs well with a defense that's second to none in limiting opponents' points. This defensive strength is vital for curbing the Bulls' attack, especially with DeRozan carrying a hefty scoring load. Past battles at the United Center hint at a favorable outcome for the Knicks. They've proven they can take down the Bulls in their den, beating the odds and the spread in key matchups. This, along with superior rebounding and defense, hints at another Knicks win. Yet we can't overlook the back-to-back game dynamic, where teams' performances can swing wildly due to fatigue. With the Knicks' roster depth and the Bulls' injury struggles, New York seems better equipped for the grueling schedule. Wrapping up, despite the Bulls' brave efforts, the Knicks stand out as the favorites, thanks to their scoring efficiency, defensive solidity, and proven track record in Chicago. With Brunson ready to exploit Chicago's weakened defense, anticipate the Knicks to dominate. They're not just chasing a win, they're on a mission to clinch their playoff position, adding even more motivation. Factoring in the spread and game dynamics, it looks like the Knicks will not only win, but also beat the spread, driven by their defensive prowess and Brunson's offensive brilliance. So the call is for the New York Knicks to win and beat the spread, with a strong chance the total points exceed 212.5, considering the offensive firepower on both sides and the high stakes of this encounter. The next prediction for today is for the game between Orlando Magic and Houston Rockets. At the Toyota Center, the stage is set for a high-stakes face-off as the Orlando Magic square up against the Houston Rockets in a matchup that's got the entire league buzzing. The Magic, boasting an impressive tally of 46 wins to 32 losses, have been lighting up the court, demonstrating a formidable blend of offensive and defensive play, even with their scoring average at a cool 110.6 points per game. Their knack for draining buckets efficiently and dominating the glass has been key to their standout season. Meanwhile, the Rockets, with a 38-40 record, pack a punch with their 114.2 points per game offensive onslaught, despite not hitting their shots as consistently as Orlando. A closer inspection of the stats sheet highlights the Magic's defensive mastery, leading the pack in stifling opponent plays and clinching the third spot for the least points conceded per game. Their defensive tenacity, combined with their sharp ability to snatch turnovers and rule the rebounds, is the cornerstone of their game plan. On the other side of the court, the Rockets' strategy leans towards an offensive barrage, backed by their scoring prowess. Yet their defense doesn't quite stack up to the Magic standards, a discrepancy that could very well decide the fate of this clash. Past clashes in Houston's territory provide a backdrop that might favor the Rockets, but it's worth noting the Magic's stellar performance against teams below .500, and their knack for covering the spread when facing teams from the West on the road. Additionally, Orlando's track record in back-to-back games, against Houston's spread-covering woes in similar conditions, throws an interesting twist into the mix. Despite injury concerns casting a shadow over the Magic, the squad's depth and the star power of players like Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner keep their ship steady. The Rockets, propelled by Jalen Green's explosiveness and Fred VanVleet's veteran savvy, have the tools to breach any defense, yet they're up against the disciplined might of Orlando. Considering the stats, recent form, and tactical playbooks, the scales tip in favor of the Orlando Magic. Their defensive prowess, coupled with an effective offense and a solid track record against the spread, earmarks them as the front-runners to clinch the win and surpass the 2-point spread put forth by the oddsmakers. Moreover, given Orlando's defensive strategy against Houston's offensive push, expect a total score leaning under the 214-point mark, underscoring the Magic's capability to dictate the game's pace and impose their defensive game plan. In essence, while the Rockets possess the grit to pull off surprises, the Magic's aspirations for a higher seed in the East and their proven ability to cover spreads make them the bet to back. My money's on the Orlando Magic to emerge victorious and beat the spread, leveraging their defensive solidity and efficient scoring. The next prediction for today is for the game between San Antonio Spurs and Memphis Grizzlies. In a gripping NBA clash, the San Antonio Spurs are gearing up to face the Memphis Grizzlies at FedEx Forum. This game is a deep dive into the dynamics of two squads braving a tumultuous season, each with its narrative and hurdles. The Spurs, with a 1959 record, have been a spectacle at times, largely owing to Victor Wembanyama's exceptional plays. Despite their standing, they pack a punch offensively, posting an average of 112.3 points on 46.2% shooting, including a decent 34.8% from the three-point line. However, their defense is their downfall, surrendering 119.2 points on 49% shooting, showcasing a difficulty in halting their rivals' offense. Conversely, the Memphis Grizzlies, holding a 27-51 record, face their own set of challenges. Scoring an average of 105.9 points on a league-worst 43.6% shooting, their offensive struggles are clear. Though their defensive metrics are slightly better than the Spurs, giving up 112.7 points at a 47.3% rate, they can't seem to offset their offensive deficiencies. Remarkably, the Grizzlies mirror the Spurs in three-point shooting and free throw precision, highlighting shared difficulties in scoring. A closer look at their encounters in the same city paints a detailed picture. The Spurs excel in moving the ball, ranking second in assists per game, which contrasts with the Grizzlies' scoring troubles. Recent matchups show that the Spurs have managed to leverage the Grizzlies' defensive lapses despite their seasonal woes. Injuries are a critical aspect of this matchup, with the Spurs missing key players, affecting their offensive and defensive strength. The Grizzlies also face roster challenges, but have seen some players rise to the occasion. Considering the dynamics of playing back-to-back games, historical performances suggest that these scenarios might influence energy levels and gameplay, especially for teams with depth issues. After evaluating all elements, including recent forms, confrontations, shooting stats, and rebounding abilities, the prognosis favors the San Antonio Spurs. Their offensive efficiency, enhanced by Wembanyama's influential presence, gives them a slight advantage. Although plagued by defensive frailties, the Grizzlies' offensive struggles and shooting inconsistencies give the upper hand to San Antonio. The prediction also acknowledges the Grizzlies' home court advantage, but their offensive issues likely won't suffice for a victory. The deciding element seems to be the Spurs' capacity to exploit the Grizzlies' defensive shortcomings, alongside their offensive prowess, despite significant injuries. Thus, anticipate the San Antonio Spurs not just to triumph, but also to surpass the three-point spread, in a contest expected to exceed the 215-point threshold, due to both teams' defensive challenges. My wager is on the San Antonio Spurs to win and cover. The next prediction for today is for the game between Washington Wizards and Minnesota Timberwolves. In the heart of the land of 10,000 lakes, an intriguing NBA showdown is about to go down, featuring the Washington Wizards, who are looking to bounce back from recent defeats, squaring off against the mighty Minnesota Timberwolves. This isn't just any game. It's a battle of wills, with the Timberwolves aiming for the apex of the Western Conference, while the Wizards are pushing through a season filled with tough lessons and losses. Coming off a tough 130-122 loss in Toronto, the Wizards didn't manage to beat the odds as 5-point underdogs, adding another chapter to their ongoing struggle. Their season has been marred by losses, including ones against the Lakers and Trailblazers. With an offense averaging 113.4 points at a 46.9% success rate, countered by allowing 122.8 points at a 49.5% rate, the Wizards are caught in a battle of efficiency. The absence of key players like Kyle Kuzma and Marvin Bagley III, sidelined with injuries, adds to the team's challenges. This backdrop of hurdles is what they bring into their face-off with the Timberwolves. On the flip side, the Minnesota Timberwolves are experiencing a resurgence, securing wins against top teams like the Lakers, and boasting a solid record that keeps them in the Western Conference contender conversation. Averaging 113 points with a 48.5% shooting success and a staunch defense limiting opponents to 106 points at 44.6%, the Timberwolves showcase a well-rounded game. The duo of Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns, bolstered by Rudy Gobert and Naz Reid, have been instrumental in the team's recent wins. Their victory over the Lakers wasn't just a display of offensive might, but a statement of their playoff aspirations. Diving into the stats and previous matchups, especially in Minneapolis, the Timberwolves' home court advantage and strategic depth, coupled with their defensive prowess, set them up favorably. While the Wizards have had their moments, highlighted by Deni Avdija and Jordan Poole's standout performances, consistency remains elusive. The stark contrast in defensive metrics, with the Timberwolves leading in opponent points per game and field goal percentage, underlines their edge. This defensive strength poses a significant hurdle for the Wizards, compounded by injuries and the potential absence of pivotal players. Given Minnesota's back-to-back schedule with an impending game against Denver, they might aim for an early lead to strategically manage their key players' time on the court. This tactic, though geared towards victory, could influence the victory margin, particularly in terms of the spread. Ultimately, the Minnesota Timberwolves, with their balanced offense, solid defense, and the goal of clinching the top seed, look set to win. However, the substantial spread and strategic considerations for the Timberwolves, paired with the Wizards' knack for pulling through against the odds, hint at a scenario where Minnesota wins but doesn't beat the 16.5-point spread. Anticipate a high-scoring affair, leaning towards the over, given the offensive strengths of both teams and the late-season game dynamics. My bet's on the Washington Wizards to beat the spread in a high-scoring game. The next prediction for today is for the game between Sacramento Kings and Oklahoma City Thunder. In an eagerly awaited clash, the Sacramento Kings will make their way to the Paycom Center to lock horns with the Oklahoma City Thunder. This season has seen both squads perform spectacularly, with the Kings holding a 45-33 tally and the Thunder impressing with a 53-25 record. This encounter is not just a showcase of two powerhouse teams, but also shines a light on standout performers like De'Aaron Fox of the Kings, who recently racked up 20 points and 5 rebounds in a commanding victory over the Nets, and Aaron Wiggins of the Thunder, who played a crucial role with 26 points in their win against the Hornets. Looking at the numbers, the Kings are scoring an average of 116.7 points per game, with a field shooting efficiency of 47.8%, and they're hitting 36.5% of their shots from downtown. However, their defense allows 115.1 points per game and has been particularly vulnerable to the three-pointer, with opponents sinking shots at a 38.9% clip. On the flip side, the Thunder have been a powerhouse, averaging 119.8 points per game, fueled by leading the league with a 49.8% shooting accuracy from the field and 38.9% from three-point land. Their defense is also top-notch, limiting opponents to a 45.9% shooting efficiency and leading the league in creating turnovers. Historically, the Kings have had the upper hand against the Thunder, with 8 wins in their last 10 meetings. This streak, combined with the Kings' ambition to dodge the play-in tournament, promises a game filled with competitive fire. Nevertheless, the Thunder's advantage on their home turf and their superior shooting prowess, especially from beyond the arc, should not be underestimated. Injury updates could significantly influence this game, with Monk's absence for the Kings and the questionable status of Gilgeous-Alexander and Williams for the Thunder. The uncertainty surrounding the Thunder's lineup, especially with their top scorers potentially sidelined, introduces a wildcard into the game's dynamics. Considering the overall performance, the Thunder's offensive juggernaut, coupled with their defensive strength in blocks and steals, positions them as daunting adversaries. Yet, the Kings' recent form and historical edge over the Thunder, particularly in direct confrontations, slightly tip the balance in their favor. Factoring in the current dynamics, with the Thunder being the favorites by a 5-point margin and the total points set at 227.5, the matchup poses a captivating challenge. The Kings' tenacity and their knack for overcoming the odds in recent clashes against the Thunder, along with their scoring prowess, mark them as the team to keep an eye on. However, the Thunder's efficiency and the advantage of playing at home pose a formidable challenge for the Kings. In summary, this battle is set to be a closely contested showdown, highlighting the strengths of both teams. While the Thunder are the favorites, the Kings' resolve and their historical supremacy in head-to-head duels position them as strong contenders to cover the spread. With both teams' offensive might and their scoring trends, an expectation for a high-scoring match exceeding 227.5 points seems plausible. My bet is on the Sacramento Kings to cover the spread. The next prediction for today is for the game between Denver Nuggets and Utah Jazz. In the high-stakes face-off at the Delta Center, the Denver Nuggets, boasting a mixed record of recent games, are set to battle the Utah Jazz, who are trying to find their rhythm amidst a rough patch. Fresh from decisive wins against the Hawks and Spurs, the Nuggets demonstrated their might, particularly shining in a dominant win over Atlanta, with a spectacular offensive showcase, hitting 60% of their shots and commanding the game from start to finish. With Nikola Jokic dropping a double-double average of 26.4 points and 12.4 rebounds, and Jamal Murray adding 20.8 points a game, Denver's scoring firepower makes them a formidable adversary. Despite Aaron Gordon's uncertain playing status, Denver's depth and scoring efficiency, highlighted by their 49.5% field goal shooting and 37.4% accuracy from downtown, spotlight their threat level. Conversely, Utah's season woes, underscored by defensive gaps allowing an average of 120.8 points per game, place them among the league's defensive strugglers. Even with Lauri Markkanen and Colin Sexton's offensive skills, the Jazz's inability to turn talent into wins, mainly due to their defensive woes and the league's highest turnover rate, adds layers to their challenge, especially missing key players like Sexton and Jordan Clarkson against a Denver team adept at exploiting defensive missteps. The recent encounters at the Delta Center paint a picture of competition, yet Denver's edge in shooting percentages and rebounding prowess slightly tips the scales their way. Considering Denver's playoff ambitions and solid performance stats, ranking 5th in offensive rating and 9th in defensive rating, they stand out as the more balanced powerhouse. However, Denver's next game against the Timberwolves looms large, potentially affecting their strategy and focus against Utah. The Nuggets may opt to safeguard player health and manage rotations closely, possibly affecting their usual intensity and sharpness in the upcoming match. Despite Utah's struggles and statistical shortcomings, especially in defense and turnovers, their home court advantage and Denver's likely strategic resource management open a slim chance for the Jazz. Utah's leading free throw percentage presents a scoring avenue, especially in a game where Denver might carefully manage playtime. In summary, while Denver boasts a stronger squad and more season-long consistency, the matchup's context and Utah's determination to reclaim honor at home hint at a tighter game than expected. With the spread considered, Utah's home grit and Denver's possible energy conservation for their next game suggest the Jazz could narrow the gap, in a duel reflecting the unpredictability of late-season NBA games. My prediction leans towards the Utah Jazz managing to close the spread in a closely fought battle, emphasizing the unforeseen twists of end-season clashes. The next prediction for today is for the game between Golden State Warriors and Los Angeles Lakers. In an electrifying face-off at the iconic Crypto.com arena, the Golden State Warriors and the Los Angeles Lakers are set for a clash of titans in the Pacific Division. Coming from different paths, with the Warriors securing a win against Utah and the Lakers facing a setback against Minnesota, this matchup is more than just a duel for supremacy. It's a critical battle for playoff positioning, where every move, every tactic, and every point can tip the scales. The Warriors' offense, spearheaded by the dynamic duo of Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, has been unstoppable. Curry's mastery in controlling the game's pace and Thompson's precision from beyond the arc, as showcased in their recent triumph over Utah, set a formidable benchmark. Averaging 117.8 points with an impressive 47.6% field goal percentage, the Warriors' scoring prowess is on full display. Their efficiency from the three-point line and free throw line only amplifies their offensive threat. Yet, it's their league-leading rebounding average of 46.8 per game that truly underscores their contender status, providing additional scoring opportunities and defensive solidity. Conversely, the Lakers, despite their stumble against the Timberwolves, remain a force to be reckoned with. Led by LeBron James and a potentially available Anthony Davis, their scoring ability nearly matches that of the Warriors. Their field goal efficiency, a close second in the league at 49.8%, demonstrates their ability to execute high-quality shots. This prowess, together with their 117.9 points per game, promises a clash brimming with offensive fireworks. Examining the defensive strategies of both teams reveals certain weaknesses, with each team allowing over 115 points on average to their opponents. This defensive shortfall, particularly in guarding the perimeter, could prove to be a critical vulnerability. However, it's the Warriors' dominance in rebounding and the Lakers' aptitude for scoring that highlight their unique strengths. The history between these powerhouses indicates a trend of high-scoring matchups, with the total going over in 2 of their last 3 meetings, and both teams consistently scoring above 116 points. With the Lakers slightly favored by a 2-point spread, this encounter is teed up for drama. The prediction rests on the battle of efficiencies, the Warriors' edge in rebounding and 3-point accuracy versus the Lakers' field goal precision and home advantage. Considering recent performances and past encounters, the Lakers have a slight advantage with their offensive depth, especially if Davis is in the lineup. Nonetheless, the Warriors are expected to cover the spread in what promises to be a nail-biter. This showdown transcends a mere basketball game. It's a declaration of ambition as the playoffs approach. While the Lakers hold a marginal lead, the Warriors' tenacity and superior rebounding make them a formidable challenger. Anticipate a scoring frenzy, with the Lakers likely to clinch victory, but the Warriors ensuring a close contest, epitomizing the pinnacle of NBA competition. The next prediction for today is for the game between Los Angeles Clippers and Phoenix Suns. As the Los Angeles Clippers and Phoenix Suns lace up for a pivotal showdown at the Footprint Center, the atmosphere is electric with the hype of a late-season clash set to shake up the playoff scene in the West. The Clippers, on a high with a stellar 50-28 record, are coming off a buzzer-beating win against the Cleveland Cavaliers, thanks to Paul George's clutch shot, locking in their position as the 4th seed. Across the court, the 6th-placed Suns, holding a 46-32 record, aim to rebound from an unexpected setback against the Pelicans. Both teams are gearing up for back-to-back battles, with the Clippers having the mental upper hand after clinching victories in their previous matchups this season. Zooming into the Clippers' strategy, their offensive game is on point, averaging 116.1 points with a solid 49.1% success rate from the field. Even with Kawhi Leonard's knee injury hanging in the balance, Paul George has been on fire, stepping up his game in Leonard's stead. George, alongside James Harden's playmaking wizardry and Norman Powell's bench firepower, positions the Clippers as a powerhouse. Their precision from downtown at 38.5% and a sharp 82.5% from the charity stripe highlight their scoring efficiency. While their defense is average, ranking 3rd in offensive efficiency showcases their knack for outgunning opponents. Shifting the focus to the Suns, they too have been offensive juggernauts, posting 116.4 points on a slightly higher 49.4% from the field. The lethal trio of Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and a fit Bradley Beal is a scoring force capable of dominating the game. The Suns thrive on their depth and adaptability, with significant contributions from role players like Grayson Allen and the bench brigade led by Eric Gordon. The Clippers have shown they can dominate in Phoenix, hinting at their prowess in away games. This trend, coupled with the Clippers' ability to rally and outshoot from beyond the arc, tips the odds in their favor. Despite the Suns having better rebounding numbers, Louisiana's clutch scoring and higher offensive potential could swing the game their way. With both teams boasting stars in top form, the Clippers' flair for dramatic finishes and their edge from prior wins suggest they're set to navigate the Suns' challenge. Kawhi Leonard's potential sideline stint is a concern, yet the Clippers have proven their resilience, with George taking the helm and Harden facilitating. Given the Clippers' track record of beating the spread in recent encounters and their stunning comeback against the Cavs, they're riding the wave of momentum and unity to outplay the Suns once again, even as underdogs on the road. The Suns' late-game wobbles and difficulties in sealing the deal might just be their downfall. Considering the Clippers' ace shooting from deep and their form, they're likely to beat the spread and snatch a victory on the road. Anticipate a scorefest, with the Clippers leveraging their offensive prowess to narrowly defeat the Suns in a tight contest. I'm putting my chips on the Los Angeles Clippers to beat the 7-point spread. The last prediction for today is for the game between New Orleans Pelicans and Portland Trailblazers. As the New Orleans Pelicans prepare to face off against the Portland Trailblazers at the Moda Center, we're on the edge of our seats for a matchup that's brimming with playoff implications. Sporting a commendable 46-32 record, the Pelicans are on a mission to sidestep the play-in tournament, showcasing their dynamic offense and stout defense that has made them a force in the cutthroat Western Conference. Fresh off a spirit-lifting win over the Suns, they've proven their mettle in crunch time, with CJ McCollum leading the charge with an exceptional display. On the flip side, the Trailblazers are navigating through a rebuild, as reflected in their 21-57 standing. Their focus has shifted from notching victories to grooming future stars. Despite a gutsy performance against the Celtics, the Blazers find themselves battling inconsistency, particularly on defense where they've been easy prey for scoring. The head-to-head stats underscore the Pelicans' edge, particularly in shooting precision, boasting a field goal percentage of 48.7% and hitting 37.9% from downtown. Their offense is matched by a disciplined defense, holding opponents to a 34.8% success rate from the three-point line. Conversely, the Blazers are trying to find their groove, trailing with a 44.2% field goal rate and a porous defense letting through shots at a 49.2% clip. The clash is underscored by the Pelicans' quest to cement their playoff position and the Blazers' aim for team development. The Pelicans' track record in Portland hints at their prowess in pivotal away matches. Given the Pelicans' offensive depth and defensive solidity against the Blazers' defensive shortcomings and current lack of win-focused drive, it's safe to bet on a Pelicans triumph. Coupled with their recent win over the Suns, the Pelicans are primed for a direct playoff slot. While the Trailblazers might show resilience, especially on their home court, the divide in motivation, form, and statistical performance leans towards a Pelicans win and spread cover. The Blazers' defensive woes and the Pelicans' scoring efficiency suggest a scorefest, making an overbet tempting, as the Pelicans aim to solidify their playoff readiness. In essence, anticipate the New Orleans Pelicans to leverage the Trailblazers' defensive gaps for a convincing win. Their superior shooting and defensive diligence should see them comfortably covering the spread, with the game's total points surpassing the set threshold. My bet is firmly on the New Orleans Pelicans to clinch the win and beat the spread.